Heavy metal music is the work of the devil. This isn't up for debate, and anyone who denies it is obviously in league with the devil. And let me tell you who else is in league with the devil. The person or persons responsible for the theft of my Trick or Treat 4K. That's who. This is the second copy that I purchased, and I was lucky enough to do so right before it sold out completely. So to the person or persons responsible for this truly heinous act, I have something that I want to give you now. Something completely free of charge. A curse. I curse you with the most vile, explosive case of diarrhea you've ever had. And while you're glued to the toilet, covered in a cold sweat, thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I haven't had Taco Bell in weeks. The severity of your transgression will strike you like a snake bite. And I want you to ask yourself one question. Was it worth it? Well, was it? You know, I could go for some Taco Bell right about now.
Welcome to Pizowell Home Video.
The 1980s were a golden age for heavy metal music. The big hair, the leather and spandex, the subversive lyrics about sex and druggy sex and sexy drugs. It sent Tipper Gore into a tizzy. Parents groups protested. The government even got involved. Heavy metal music was literally on trial. Nothing really came of it though, and all those who protested or opposed heavy metal just ended up looking like a bunch of old fuddy-duddies. Well, I can't say that nothing came out of it. We were treated to a plethora of heavy metal horror movies, and one of the most well-known and beloved of the bunch is 1986's Trick or Treat. It's one of the oldest stories ever written, the outcast who seeks revenge against those who made them feel like an outcast. In the case of Trick or Treat, our outcast is young Eddie Weinbauer, aka Ragman. He's a metalhead who all the preppy kids consider creepy, and he's subject to some pretty heinous bullying. His only refuge is in the music of Sammy Kerr. If Nikki Sixx, Marilyn Manson, Ozzy Osbourne, and Alice Cooper all had a baby together, that'd be weird. It'd also be Sammy Kerr. And then Sammy Kerr dies, but Eddie manages to summon his spirit by playing his final record, Songs in the Key of Death, backwards, of course. With Sammy's help, Eddie gets some sweet revenge against his bullies. But, as they say, never meet your heroes, especially if they're undead demonic entities. Just never a good idea. Trick or Treat is such a fun movie. From the characters, to the soundtrack, to the sense of humor, to Sammy Kerr. First, what a cast. Mark Price is great as Eddie. You feel for the guy. You root for him. You want him to have his revenge, even if it means his bullies have to meet an untimely demise. Among those dastardly bullies is Doug Savant. Savant is no James Spader when it comes to ultimate 80s bad guy preppy scum, but he's close. Glenn Morgan, who provides plenty of humor as Ragman's best friend Roger, and Lisa Orgolani round out a strong supporting cast. Rock icons Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne have small roles as well. Simmons is a Wolfman Jack-inspired local DJ, and Ozzy as a reverend and moral crusader who denounces metal music and its glorifications of all things perverse. But the real star of the show here is Tony Fields, who plays Sammy Kerr. The character could have easily been written off as just another Freddy Krueger clone, but not on Fields' watch. Fields, a dancer by trade, brings that kind of physicality to the role. He also brings a heck of a lot of charisma. Sammy Kerr isn't in the movie all that much, but whenever he is, it's an absolute treat, and that's thanks to Tony Fields. Another highlight of Trick or Treat is the movie's sense of humor. It never takes itself too seriously, but never veers off into the realms of silliness, like some other heavy metal horror movies that tried and failed at being taken seriously did. And I would be totally remiss if I didn't give huge props to the music of Trick or Treat, provided by the band Fastway. Fastway treats us to a number of rockin' tracks for the movie. When they're not shredding on the soundtrack, Christopher Young provides a cool percussive score. And it's a Halloween movie too. It's not all that Halloween-y though as far as atmosphere is concerned, but we get an awesome scene at the high school Halloween dance in which Sammy holds an intimate performance that ends with lightning bolts shooting out of his guitar. Lightning bolts that turn the partygoers into dust. I'd still rather risk that fate than go to a Corey Feldman show. Trick or Treat rocks. Plain and simple. And this new limited edition 4K release from the film from Synapse Films and Red Shirt Pictures should rock the socks off any Trick or Treat fan. For a movie as beloved as Trick or Treat, it's always shocked me at how unavailable the film's been on physical media over the years. I remember renting the movie on VHS way back in the day, and I've owned this ancient DVD for the film for a long time. And, you know, I love the false advertising on the cover of this DVD, which promotes the film with stock photos of both Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons as if they are the stars of the movie. And this kind of deceptive marketing actually fooled the used bookstore that I bought this from many, many years ago, because instead of it being placed in the horror section, it had been placed in the music section. Trick or Treat being treated to this kind of release is long overdue, but thanks to Red Shirt Pictures and Synapse Films, it was well worth the wait. This release comes inside a sturdy slipcase. There were 3 cover art designs that you could choose from. I chose this one. I'm not sure which artist did this particular piece, but Justin Osborne, Devin Whitehead, and Sean Longmore did the art for the covers. The sleeve is reversible. There's the standard Blu-ray and the 4K, and we get the soundtrack CD, Songs in the Key of Death. We get an illustrated booklet with essays by Michael Gingold, Sam Deegan, and Michael Felsher. We get a fold-out double-sided Sammy Kerr fan poster and 6 double-sided collector's cards. When it comes to 4K picture quality, Trick or Treat looks absolutely fantastic here, with some caveats. The overall picture quality was sharp with a high level of detail, skin tones looked natural, and there were some impressive black levels. There were some moments in the film that looked a little soft for me, moments that were a little lacking in terms of definition. Those scenes were few though, and by no means lessened my enjoyment of watching Trick or Treat in 4K. When it comes to audio, we get both DTS HD 5.1 and 2.0 tracks. I listened with the 2.0 track enabled, and I thought Trick or Treat sounded absolutely incredible. The soundtrack was booming, all the dialogue and the sound effects, and just the overall sound in general was razor sharp. Overall, I'd give the picture quality on this release a 4.5 out of 5, and the audio quality a 5 out of 5. When it comes to extras, the cherry on top of this release is a feature-length making-of documentary produced by Michael Felsher of Red Shirt Pictures. When you see his name attached to a feature-length making-of documentary on a release like this, you know you're in for a treat. I'm a sucker for making-of documentaries, and Michael Felsher is responsible for 3 of my all-time favorites: The Monster Squad, Near Dark, and Night of the Creeps. And I may have to add the making of on this release to that list. It's called Rock and Shock, The Making of Trick or Treat. It's 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 16 seconds in length. It includes interviews with producer and co-writer Joel Swisson, director Charles Martin Smith, film historian Michael Felsher, music supervisor Stephen Smith, stars Mark Price, Elise Richards, Glenn Morgan, Gene Simmons, composer Chris Young, and quite a few more. They discuss the time in which the film was made and how parent and political groups and religious groups demonized heavy metal music, the genesis of Trick or Treat, Penelope Spheris originally being hired to direct before Charles Martin Smith was brought on board, casting the film, casting Gene Simmons, dealing with Gene Simmons, how much fun Ozzy Osbourne had in his role, how great Tony Fields was to work with, filming in Wilmington, North Carolina, the special makeups and effects, the soundtrack from Fastway, the score by Chris Young, the movie's release, its soft landing at the box office, its cult status, and much, much more. Next, we have in the spotlight a tribute to Tony Fields, in which a group of family and friends of the late Mr. Fields share memories from his personal and professional life. It's 15 minutes and 7 seconds in length. We get the Horrors Hollowed Grounds from the filming locations of Trick or Treat. It's 26 minutes and 31 seconds in length. We get Fastway's After Midnight music video, which is 3 minutes and 46 seconds in length. We get theatrical trailers, TV spots, radio spots, a vintage EPK, and still galleries. We get an audio commentary with director Charles Martin Smith, audio interviews with writer and producer Michael S. Murphy and writer Rhett Tofen, and we get an audio conversation with authors Paul Carup and Allison Lang. This is an absolutely stunning limited edition 4K release for Trick or Treat from Synapse Films and Red Shirt Pictures. Both the picture quality and the sound quality are superb. You get that awesome feature-length making-of documentary, as well as several other very nice extras as well. This release is an absolute keeper. If you are a fan of Trick or Treat, this release, I'm sure, is probably already in your collection. If you manage to pick up one of these bad boys, please let me know down in the comments section below. And let me know which variant cover you went with. And aside from Trick or Treat, let me know what some of your other favorite heavy metal horror movies are. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. A huge thank you to all my patrons and channel members for your generosity and support. Become a patron today and get early access to videos, have a say in what content appears on my channel, join me for monthly live streams, exclusive watch parties, and more. Become a channel member today and get access to exclusive badges and emotes to use when I stream, as well as members-only watch parties. Both those links are in the description. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.